What's up, guys? I'm Chris Spags here, back with another Four Corners video for today's 14-game MLB main slate, courtesy of Awesemo.com. We've got a lot of games today and a lot to get to, so let's just get to the point right now. If you want to win a free month of Awesemo Plus, all you have to do is like this video and comment your double dong pick down below, the guy you think is going to hit 2 home runs today. If you're correct, you'll be entered to win that free month of Awesemo Plus, so right now, make sure to like the video and comment your double dong pick down below. But now let's get on to our first corner on today's slate, the top pitchers, and Justin Verlander going against Texas should be the #1 owned option industry-wide. Verlander gets 3.2 implied runs against him, and he's expected to be the #1 owned pitcher on DraftKings with 36%, on FanDuel with 33%, and on Yahoo with 44%. Verlander struggles with power of remain with a 5.1% home run rate, but he still brings a 32% K rate while yielding just a 168 batting average on the year. That's as strong as any in the league going against Texas's 25.3% K rate versus right-hand pitching. I have no problem going against Texas, especially when they're not at home. I think the spot's a strong one for Verlander, even though his complaints about the juice balls are pretty appropriate, given that sky-high home run rate he has allowed. Jacob deGrom at San Francisco should also be popular today with 3.3 implied runs against him. deGrom will be the #2 owned on DraftKings with 24% and on FanDuel with 16%, while he'll be #3 on Yahoo with 36% expected ownership. San Francisco's ability to avoid strikeouts with a 20.5% K rate in their projected lineup is the lone downside to the spot, with deGrom's 31% K rate and 3.3 xFIP on the year also in a positive pitching park. We saw what a weaker Noah Syndergaard did yesterday in the spot. It's a strong situation here for deGrom, guy who's actually been pretty good on the air. And Shane Bieber versus Kansas City should also find some ownership today with 3.5 implied runs against him. Bieber will be the #2 owned pitcher on Yahoo with 36%, while he'll be #4 owned on DraftKings with 21%. Kansas City strikes out a bit under league average with a 22.5% K rate versus right-hand pitching. And with a hot Kansas City day, Bieber's 43% hard contact allowed is a bit of a risk, but his 32% strikeout rate and 3.1 xFIP are really strong numbers that are hard to poke holes in. I'd likely be most inclined to pay up for Verlander in this spot, but I do think both Bieber and deGrom have potential here at a slightly cheaper price. On to our next corner, the top stacks on the slate, and a Toronto stack versus Jordan Zimmermann should be popular today. They get 5.5 implied runs, and Toronto projects for top stack ownership thanks to value prices and Zimmerman's 311 batting average and 5.5 xFIP allowed. Toronto is stunk versus right-hand pitching on the year with a 228 batting average and a 297 on-base percentage, but Zimmermann can't strike guys out with a 14.6% K rate, and he looks bad enough to target. With that full stack highly owned, it may make sense to target just 1 or 2 players here to try to capture the production Toronto can put up versus Zimmermann, but it is a strong spot overall and definitely worth some exposure, even though, again, they are going to be really over-owned. A Yankee stack versus Kyle Freeland also looks good today with 7 implied runs for them, which are a slate high. Freeland has been brutal in 2019 with a 5.3 xFIP, a 290 batting average, and a 5.5% home run rate allowed, and a hot Yankee Stadium shouldn't be much better for him than Coors has been either. The Yankees have the best chance of being the top stack today, according to Awesemo's top stacks tool, and with their projected lineup bringing a 223 ISO and a 120 WRC plus versus left-hand pitching, this is a really nice spot to target them going against Kyle Freeland. The one thing that you can say in favor of Freeland is that his numbers have been so bad in 2019 that maybe he's due for some positive regression based upon his longer-term sample size, but he's still just been so awful. It's a really hot day in New York. Seems like a nice spot to go to the Yankees and not to Freeland. A Cincinnati stack versus Adam Wainwright should also find some fans today with a 5.1 implied run total for them. Cincinnati projects for high ownership and another scorching hot day in their positive hitting park, with Wainwright mostly mediocre with just a 1.3 whip and a 22.2% K rate. Wainwright does keep the ball down well with a 29% fly ball rate, but he struggles versus left-handed batters with a 5.4 xFIP and a 274 batting average, so many stacks of lefty bats like the high-owned Derek Dietrich, who was ruled out yesterday, could be interesting in this spot. Much like Toronto, Cincinnati seems a bit over-owned as a full stack. I'm more inclined to go to one-offs and mini stacks to try to capture that production without rostering a bunch of over-owned players. On to our next corner, the lower owned options on today's slate, and the Cleveland stack going against Mike Montgomery is a team who jumped out to me. Cleveland gets 6.5 implied runs, and they're slowly rounding into form, while Montgomery's been horrible in 2019 with a 318 batting average allowed as well as 42% hard contact and just a 15% K rate. Kansas City's bullpen isn't much better with a 4.8 xFIP, so Cleveland's projected lineups of 197 ISO and 107 WRC plus offer some potential for production here. I've discussed several times in this video how Cleveland stacks can be hard to trust, but they are slowly getting there. On another hot day in a good hitting park, I think it's a good situation to go against them because Montgomery's been really brutal so far. Brendan McKay versus the White Sox is also a guy who jumped out to me with 3.3 implied runs against him. McKay projects well with not much ownership despite a strong 3.0 xFIP, 0.7 whip, and 13.2% swinging strike rate so far in 2019. McKay has been lights out versus right-handed batters on a limited sample size with a 2.3 xFIP and a 27% K rate. And with Jose Abreu the only worrisome hitter for the White Sox with a 148 WRC plus versus left-hand pitching, this could be a mostly safe spot for McKay with really strong upside. McKay and David Price are two guys who I think are in that price tier that have the upside of some of the higher priced pitchers today. They're no sure things, but I do think they're both in really strong spots today at pitcher. And a Milwaukee stack versus Taylor Clark is also intriguing intriguing to me with 5.2 implied runs for them. I mentioned yesterday that Merrill Kelly was more mediocre than bad, and they had a tough day against him, but Taylor Clark is actually bad with a 5.8 xFIP, 16.7% K rate, and a 5.2% home run rate allowed on the year. Arizona's park still favors pitchers, but with Milwaukee disappointing on a shorter slate yesterday, ownership should be down further despite a projected line that is a 2-1 ISO versus right-hand pitching. I don't want to be the boy who cried wolf going with Milwaukee on 2 straight days where they disappoint, but I think Taylor Clark looks bad enough, and they could take advantage of him today. And a Pittsburgh stack versus Jake Arrieta also interests me with 5.3 implied runs for them. Arrieta's been bad versus left-handed batters with a 5.5 xFIP and a 294 batting average allowed, as well as just a 17.2% K rate. So on a hot day in Pittsburgh's hitting-friendly park, the spot could blow up fast. Pittsburgh has a lefty-heavy lineup with a 275 batting average and a 19.4% K rate versus right-hand pitching on the year. And with a bad bullpen behind Arrieta, Pittsburgh could explode as an offense with cheap prices and no ownership on them. Pittsburgh at home has been a monster stack from time to time, and there's one-off who I like quite a bit, who I'll talk about in 1 second. Now on to our last corner of the one-offs, and the guy I just hinted at is Brian Reynolds going against Jake Arrieta. Reynolds is reasonably priced despite a 340 batting average, a 147 WRC+, and 50.4% hard contact versus right-hand pitching that could create big opportunity versus Arrieta's lefty weaknesses. A guy like Josh Bell looks a little bit safer on paper, but with Reynolds' price being down, I do think he has a lot of potential here, and also seems due for some positive regression in terms of the power numbers he's put up so far. And Justin Smoke versus Jordan Zimmerman also interests me as a one-off. With high ownership to that full Toronto stack, a lower owned value like Smoke with his 261 ISO versus Zimmerman's 5.1 xFIP and 4.4% home run rate allowed to left-handed bats could be a way to capture Toronto's production. Smoke will be less owned as a one-off and as part of that Toronto stack, so I think it's a situation here where he has the power to put up the production and also should have guys on base in front of him. And Tommy Edman versus Tyler Mahle is also a one-off who intrigues me. Edman's grand slam yesterday illustrated how hard he's hit the ball with a 50% hard contact rate and a limited MLB sample size. So with Mahle expected to have ownership despite a 6.7 xFIP and 5.8% home run rate allowed versus left-hand batters, a guy like Edman could be low-owned, affordable leverage in the leadoff spot. In a hot day with a positive hitting park and Mahle's really appreciable struggles versus lefties, I'm not going to him despite some ownership, and I do think that Tommy Edman or one of the other lefties in the lineup could have a big day as a one-off. So there you have it. Those are my thoughts on today's slate. So put it all together for yourself, and right now, like this video and comment your double dong pick down below. Yesterday, there were no double dongs in the main slate, so it's your time to get it back on track, take advantage of all the teams in front of us, and right now, like this video and comment your double dong pick for your chance to win that free month that I'm dying to give away of Osmo Plus. But if you don't want to beg for double dong scraps, you could also use some of that bankroll you've been building up and get that promo code Switch and Hedge in there for half off your first month of Osmo Plus. Get all the ownership projections, the regular projections to plug right into the Fantasy Cruncher, the deep dive column, the lineup builder tool, the top stacks tool, a million different things that'll help you make better MLB DFS lineups every single day. So use that promo code Switch and Hedge right now for half off your first month of Osmo Plus. That's it for me this week. So right now, go follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Chris Spags. I'm there for you guys all the time, doing all sorts of content, all sorts of tweets to you guys whenever you guys hit me up. So go ahead right now, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Chris Spags. I'll be back on Monday with another Four Corners video. So thank you guys for watching, and good luck.